Good morning, everyone. It's Reed Schwartz, and I'm here with episode number 1 of the VA Sound Booth podcast, where we're going to talk about everything you want to know about virtual assistants, talk to some virtual assistants, and get a little idea of how this whole thing works. My name is Reed Schwartz. I am the owner of TimeHack Virtual Assistants, and I get lots of questions about hiring virtual assistants, and they usually start off with way before hiring a virtual assistant. For a lot of people, the question is the virtual assistant like an app on your phone? I've had that question, and that's totally legit. With, first of all, everything that your phone can do nowadays, and with AI, AI can do a bunch of things that virtual assistants do. The really good news is that AI could make your virtual assistant so much more. They can, it's a force multiplier. So let me start off with the first thing is, what is a virtual assistant? So a virtual assistant is a human being who works for you. They are just not in your office. They're working somewhere else. Now, they could be working from home 2 blocks away, or they could be on the other side of the country or in some other country. I suppose they could be in the dang space station, but I don't think you're hiring any of those people. They get a lot of money from NASA. So what is a virtual assistant? A virtual assistant, like I said, is someone you hire. They're an employee of yours, and they just don't work in your house or in your office. Virtual assistants come in many different flavors. You can hire people of all skill levels, from somebody that just does basic data entry to someone who designs your website, runs your entire multimedia campaign, edits your videos. The CEO of a company. I know a company who the CEO of the company started off as a virtual assistant and worked her way up to becoming the CEO. Virtual assistants come in all shapes and sizes and locations and skills, just like everybody else you know in your life. So you can hire an employee and run ads in their local newspaper and interview people in person, and it's going to be very much like hiring a virtual assistant, except they're sitting in front of you. So why would you want to hire a virtual assistant? Number one, you have a lot more breadth of skill sets in a virtual assistant than finding somebody that's local to you. And most importantly, they save you a ton of money. Right off the bat, you're not providing office space for them. You're not providing them a desk. You're not providing them with the computer, any of that. They are providing all of that, and they are working remotely. Number two, you're going to save a lot of money because most virtual assistants work for a lot less money than your in-house assistants or employees are going to. And, personally, I use virtual assistants based in the Philippines, where the cost of living is significantly less. So they work for less money than the cost of living here is in the United States is a lot more. So people here need more money just to be able to put groceries on the table, pay the rent, have a roof over their head, and, pay for medical insurance, all those things. And then, of course, with an employee here in the United States, you're going to be paying benefits. You're going to be paying Social Security. You're going to be paying federal income tax. You're going to be paying Medicare. You may be paying state tax on those employees. And a virtual assistant from outside of the country, you don't need to do that. So that's a significant financial savings. So one of the other questions I get is, can you trust someone? I've never met this person in person, right? But you do get to meet them. We have these amazing tools available to us with Zoom and other tools that you can have that face-to-face conversation. You get to interview them and talk to them and quiz them just like you would any other employee. You can even give them some tasks to do as a trial to make sure they can follow through and actually do it. You got to pay them for that because they're doing stuff for you, but you can do that. Just like years ago, I owned a pizza restaurant and we would hire our employees. We went through 2 rounds of interviews with two different groups of people interviewing them. And then if we decided to offer them the job, the first thing they had to do was come in and work a shift in the restaurant to see how they got along with everybody else on the crew and see what their work ethic was like. You can do the same thing with a virtual assistant, and I highly encourage it. You're going to get to know these people. They're not robots. They're not a computer. You're going to, build a rapport with them. You want to know about their background, about their family, about, their birthday, so that you can, you build that connection with them. They're an employee. They work for you. They just are not physically in your office. So one of the other questions I get is, isn't hiring virtual assistants just for big companies? Large American corporations have been hiring people overseas since the 1980s. For decades, they've been hiring people. They have offices there. They have call centers. They have tech support, all that in all these other countries. Well, back then, the infrastructure wasn't there for you and I to be able to have all these great tools on the internet that we can use to work with our virtual assistants. So no, it's not just for big companies anymore. It used to be. That used to be the game, and they got the benefit of it. And now it's your opportunity to get the benefit by hiring someone with amazing skills. And oftentimes these people have worked for big American corporations overseas in their home country. So they are already used to working with Americans. They have great English skills, and they have the office skills and the technical skills and understand how we work. So there you go. So yeah, it's not just for big businesses anymore. It's for everybody if it's the right fit for you. The very first thing you really have to decide is, am I ready for a virtual assistant? To do that, I would highly encourage you to kind of go through the first test is to sit down and for 1 week, write down what you do every hour of the day. And then at the end of the week, go back and analyze those numbers in whatever manner works for you. You can write them all down on paper. You could write them in, put them in a spreadsheet. You could record video of yourself and have an AI actually create that data. But find what you use your time for, because in every one of our businesses, there are tasks that we do that ring the register. There's those things that you do, are those things that your skill set makes your business money. It's why people write you a check. They buy your service, they buy your training, they buy your product, whatever it is. But there are a few things in your job that you do every day that ring the register. And then there's probably quite a few things that don't, that you spend time on going through your email, looking through your calendar, scheduling appointments, filing receipts, doing bookkeeping, calls, planning travel. There's a lot of things, putting information in your database, updating your customer list, communicating just standard communications with your clients that isn't something that requires you to personally do. And there's some AI tools that can help with that, but a virtual assistant can do an awful lot of that and take it off your plate. So yeah, those are tasks that I like to think of as the $10 tasks. There's stuff that you could pay somebody $10 or $20 an hour to come into your office and do those things. You could train them. You can write up a standard operating procedure to say, hey, this is how I do this. One of the things we love to do is use Loom, is an app that will record your screen and record you. And you just fire up Loom and go through and do that task and talk your way through it. Explain what you're doing. Hey, I'm doing this, checking this email. It says this, so I'm going to file this. This is a receipt from Home Depot. I'm going to put that into my receipts folder, and then I'm going to go back and download that as a PDF onto my Google Drive for when I go to do my bookkeeping, and then upload that into QuickBooks. You can go through and do that and record that, and now you have a process and a procedure that you can give to someone. Now, you could pay somebody $20 an hour to come into your office and do that and provide them with desk space and a computer and a chair and breaks and, all that stuff. Or you can hire a virtual assistant who can access all of that stuff securely from their home country, wherever that may be. Mine is in the Philippines. And they can do those $10, $20 an hour tasks for you for a lot less money, because you got to decide what your time's worth. Look at what those tasks are that you do that rings the register. And then what's your time worth? How many hours a week do you spend doing those things divided by how much revenue you bring in? And that tells you how much your time is worth. For most entrepreneurs, your time is worth $200, $300, $400, $500 an hour when you are doing those tasks, maybe even more. So if you spend 2 hours a day going through email and scheduling appointments and filing receipts, $200 a day, an hour, that's $400 a day, $2,000 a week that you are wasting doing that, when you can pay someone $3, $4, $5 an hour with a virtual assistant to accomplish that. So 1 week's worth of what you would spend will pay that employee for a couple of months or a month and a half. So yeah, you have to, number one, determine if you are ready for a virtual assistant. You have to do some preparation. So figure out what those processes are, what jobs you would have them do. Decide how you want to go about that. And there's several different ways you can go about hiring a virtual assistant. Number one, there are virtual assistant companies that hire virtual assistants, and then they will basically, you hire that company. Now, they're going to charge you a couple $1,000s a month for that virtual assistant. The virtual assistant works for that company, so they're not necessarily directly accountable to you as far as getting paid, and they don't have any loyalty to you particularly because they work for this other company. And they're still getting paid $3, $4, $5 an hour by the virtual assistant company. Or number two, you can go through, there's a website called onlinejobs.ph. It's basically a classified ad website in the Philippines where you can advertise your job, and they give you some good information on going about that process. But then you're on your own. You run your ad, you hire that person, and you're on your own for doing that. Or you can use a company like mine, TimeHackVA.com. And what we're going to do is set you up to do, we're going to find a bunch of candidates that meet what you're looking for. We're going to help you with standard operating procedures, ideas of what a VA can do. We're going to probably start off with 100, 150 candidates for each position you want to hire, and go through a multi-stage interview process of going through their resume, refining what their skill set is, running them through a DISC assessment to see what their personality is and how they would fit for the job that you want to do. And then finally, narrow that down to a group of 4, 5, 7 candidates for you to interview via Zoom. And then we'll have one of our assistants actually set you up with that. They will introduce each person, get their resume to you, give you their DISC assessment, let you review that information, and then you'll conduct your own interviews. We even have samples of hundreds and hundreds of sample questions to ask the virtual assistant. So, and then you can also use ChatGPT as a great tool to find good questions to ask when you're interviewing for the specific job that meets your needs. I found that is a super helpful tool if you know what prompts to use, and we can provide you with those prompts for ChatGPT. And then when you go through that hiring process, then you're going to pick one and negotiate salary. And like I said, they're typically run between $3 and $7 an hour. Onboard that person, and we can provide you with guidelines for onboarding, because no new employee is going to start on day one and show up for work and be like the perfect employee. They already know what to do. They do everything. No, you need to introduce them to you. You need to build a connection with them. You need to get them hooked into all of your systems, whatever software you're using, email address, a phone number they can use to call into the United States from the Philippines, or whatever other tools you're using. Depends on what they're doing for you. If you use the Google Business Suite, get them connected with that using Canva or a sundry other tools. But you need to get them connected. We use a program called LastPass to share passwords, so they don't actually get your passwords, but they can log into all those websites. So there's a whole process of onboarding them, and that takes a while. It takes a little while to get them up to speed and then start giving them assignments. You're going to meet with them regularly. I meet with my virtual assistants every morning, most mornings, for at least a short huddle to just go over what the plan of the day is and make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to reach out or click the information, follow me, DM me. DM VA, and I'd be happy to send you a list. I've got a list of tasks that VAs commonly do for like an executive assistant or social media manager. So go ahead and feel free to send me a DM me and I put VA in there and I'll send that information over. So I'll see you next time on VA Sound Booth Podcast. Have an amazing day.